Why are difficult conversations difficult? One of the reasons is there's an increased chance of an amygdala hijack happening. So in this video, I want to cover what an amygdala hijack is, and as a manager, how do you prevent this happening? So the amygdala is part of the emotional processing center of the brain, and it produces chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline in response to not only how people think, but what they're seeing in front of them. So in difficult conversations, if people go into the conversation thinking, I'm not going to be listened to, I'm going to be told off here, you will start to produce cortisol and adrenaline and other chemicals. And then when they sit in front of the manager and the manager asks questions like, well, why did you do that? And they see this type of facial expression and they hear the tone and the choice of words, again, it suggests to our brain, this isn't someone to be trusted, and more cortisol and more adrenaline is released. And what happens because of that, it makes it very difficult for our prefrontal cortex to fire as effectively. Now, our prefrontal cortex is involved in logic and problem solving and empathy. So when an amygdala hijack happens, our amygdala takes over, it makes it difficult to get into a problem solving state, which is what most difficult conversations need to move towards. So how does a manager prevent an amygdala hijack happening? Well, this is threefold. The first thing, you need to create an environment where difficult conversations are not seen as difficult. If you're providing feedback, if you're challenging someone, they absolutely know it's coming from a good place. And it's quite normal to provide feedback to each other. So that's dependent on the culture that you create. The second part is then being mindful of the cues you display as a manager. Be mindful of your facial expressions, your tone, your choice of words. Be really thoughtful about it. And then the third factor is splitting the conversation into two halves. The first half, which has to come first, is letting the other person feel seen, heard, and understood. Because if that doesn't happen, there's no way you can effectively do the second part, which is problem solving. For you to get to the problem solving part, people have to feel safe. They have to feel that their voice matters. They've got to feel that their opinion is going to be listened to. And how you do that is by listening really effectively to begin with and not jumping too quickly into, well, let's problem solve this. Well, this makes business sense. Well, this is not how it happens, and giving your opinion too quickly. Listen to understand first. And then when someone feels heard, they're much more likely to problem solve with you. And this is how you prevent an amygdala hijack in a difficult conversation. Hope this helps.